Now, with this conclusion rejecting the null hypothesis, where the null hypothesis stated that all three mean acidities were equal, we rejected that claim. And after conducting the ANOVA test, we were able to gather enough evidence that concluded that at least one population mean acidity is different. Now, when it comes to your conclusion with ANOVA testing, there's a way to reinforce it. Okay, there is a way to reinforce your conclusion, and that's using box plots. Okay, so reinforcing your conclusion. Okay, and to reinforce your conclusion, we're going to take a look at the box plots for each of these populations here. Okay, so if you go in the handout, if you're rejecting the null hypothesis, what you're saying is that the alternative is true. So if you draw the box plot for Alaska, Florida, and Texas, we should expect the box plots to be staggered somewhat in the same form here. Okay, but what the idea is that they're not lined up, they're staggered. Suppose in your conclusion, we did not reject the null hypothesis. That would mean that the null hypothesis is true. That's why we didn't reject it. So when the null hypothesis is true, we should expect the box plots to line up very similar to this. They line up very neatly like we have here. So what we're going to do, since we rejected the null hypothesis, which means the alternative is true, we want to check and see if the calculator gives us kind of this staggered form with the box plots here. Okay, so let me show you how to do that there. Recall, when you go to stat edit, we do have, okay, let's go back to example 1a, Alaska, Florida, and Texas here. And from way back in chapter 3, okay, 3.5, we drew box plots by going to, we're going to go to second mode so the calculator doesn't get confused. But we're going to go to second, y equal, and let's go to the first one by default. Okay, so let's turn the stat plot on, and for the type, we're going to go to the box plot. Okay, for the box plot, the first plot will indicate the box plot for Alaska, so L1 looks good. And then once you have that set, what you'll do is you'll go up here to where it says plot 1 and hover over to plot 2. Okay. Plot 2 will also turn on and will also indicate the box plot here. But now we want to dedicate the plot 2 for the second population. So let's go ahead and change the list to L2. So second, 2 on the keypad. Once you have that set, we can go up again to plot 3. We'll turn this on. We'll indicate the type. And here we're going to use the list for Texas. So second, 3 on the keypad, that'll produce the L3. Now, once you have those 3 plots, we can proceed to hit graph. Okay. Now, picture, it's not all that great. Just like we've been doing all semester, to get a better picture, here we'll go to zoom, and you want number 9. Okay, just to give you a quick refresher on what 9 is. Okay, zoom stat, we have it here. So once again, when we conducted the ANOVA test, when we tested the mean acidity, the null hypothesis stated that all 3 mean acidities were equal. But after conducting our test, we rejected that claim. By rejecting that claim, now we have enough evidence to conclude that at least one mean acidity was different. So by rejecting H0, that implies that H1 is true. A staggered behavior should be observed with the data set. And if you notice, when you were looking at the data set for these 3 populations, we do have that staggered behavior here. So that's one way to reinforce your conclusion. You rejected the null hypothesis, okay? And as an indicator of whether or not we're on the right track, we should have expected a staggered behavior which we have.